Hello everyone. This will be another tutorial for our drawings unit. This is our stack elevation 2. You guys will be getting a copy of this, but I just thought we'd go through it together because this one is a little bit different from the one that we did in class the other day. Because this one, as well as the ones that will be coming in the future, are going to have two stacks. Two stacks. And the original one, and the stack elevation one, the intro, it only had one stack because it was only a single dwelling, single bathroom, and with one laundry tub. But now we have something a little bit more realistic, and then we're going to go further on into our stack elevations to have multi-story dwellings with apartment units and all that kind of stuff as well. So it will be the common theme from now on to have multiple stacks. I may throw in something where we might have 3 stacks, could have 2 stacks, or maybe even one very large stack. But again, like I was saying in class yesterday, that is up for you to decide how best to, how many stacks to put in, where the stack should go to best serve the units and the plumbing that we have laid out for us. So here we have our drawing. We can see it, and we can take note of a few things. We have a 3-piece bathroom group here with a toilet, sink, and shower. We have a 4-piece bathroom group here with a double vanity lav. We also have, or a double sink vanity. We have a toilet and a bathtub. This would be on, I guess, the second floor or first floor, depending on if you count grade. Then in the bottom floor, we have a kitchen sink, a floor drain, and a laundry tub. So all in all, not that many fixtures. This quite similarly resembles maybe a bungalow, something that you might see somewhere. So in this drawing, we have these footings here. I wanted to get rid of these, so we are going to get rid of them. And the ones that you will be receiving should not have a footing because I just find that they just make it really difficult to draw our plumbing. So let's just remove this stuff. There you go. Boom. Great. So now we have our general idea of our fixtures. Now, the next step, what did I always say? Figure out how we're going to vent these things. So, starting on the bottom floor, we know that we have a floor drain, whether it's an emergency floor drain or the last fixture. Well, in this case, it would be an emergency floor drain, so we know that they don't have to be vented, which is fantastic. On the bottom floor again, we have a kitchen sink with nothing really close to it, around it to pick up. So maybe wet venting is not something we'll be doing here. We have a laundry tub as well by itself. So it seems like these sinks, the kitchen sink and the laundry tub, are on different parts of the house because of the distance. So it makes sense that we will more than likely be individually venting these. If we go up to this next floor here, we have this section here. I drew this in. This is the floor. This will be the floor space. So now whenever we have this gap that we see here, whenever we have this gap, let's try and keep our drains and our plumbing inside of this space, right? Because if we have our plumbing come below here, that means that it'll be hanging from the ceiling. And if we have plumbing hanging from the ceiling, we have to create a bulkhead to hide that plumbing. And this floor is big enough that we should be able to fit all of our plumbing in this gap. So when we draw this, let's try and make sure that we keep our plumbing within the floor space here. So that we don't need the carpenter to build us a bulkhead or a box to hide our plumbing. So this 3-piece bathroom here we know because the lav and the toilet are right beside each other that these will definitely be wet vented together. Now, depending on where our stack is run, we may or may not be able to add this shower to our wet vent. Because remember, I was saying the other day, crossing over the stack, at least for these drawings, let's try and avoid crossing over. Okay, so if our stack runs in the middle here, we can't really add this and cross over to add into our wet vent because visually looking on our stack elevation, it won't look that nice. And we want these to be uniform, symmetrical, and practical. If we had, since we were only looking at it from this one dimension, if we had another dimension to make it look 3D, then we might see that the stack is on a different depth than this bathroom. So then we could bring it over to the wet vent, right? But because we don't have that third dimension to see what the depth is between the stack and this bathroom, let's not assume that we can cross over the stack that we draw, and let's just have it individually vented. I was saying that yesterday. On these drawings at least, let's try not to cross over the stack if we don't have to. Okay? Next, we have this 4-piece. Again, if we bring our stack up this middle section here, we won't be crossing over it with the bathtub drain, so that means the bathtub will be individually vented. But we know for sure at least this toilet will be wet vented from this double vanity. So now that we have a general idea of where we're going to go with a couple wet vents here, at least 2, and a couple individual vents, perhaps 4, we can get started. First things first, let's draw the location of our stack. Okay, I'm going to do it again in red. So if we look at the location, of all these fixtures, it seems to me that the best possible outcome, because remember I was saying in class we have 3 options usually of our stacks. We have on the left, on the right, and in the middle. And then within those gaps we can move a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, to fit our program here. So looking at this section here, because the kitchen sink and this 3-piece are in line together, I know that I can pick both of these up on the same stack. Now it just comes down to where am I going to put said stack. Well, if I put it here, that would work. That could work, and then I could perchance pick up all 3 of these on a single wet vent. That's entirely possible. I may be a little bit close to the floor drain, but that could work. For instance, what I'm saying is that if I bring the stack up here, this could work because I could bring the toilet all the way across and pick this up on the wet vent. This can work for a location of the stack. What can also work for a location of the stack is here, right in the middle. That's not so much in the middle, but let's move that over. This could work. If we put our stack here, we can pick up the kitchen sink easily. It's not too far away. We have the toilet and the sink that can be wet vented, but then we'd have to individually vent this shower. This could work as well. Visually speaking, this would look less cluttered, I could assume. Okay? But this would require us to individually vent this shower. So again, like I was saying, either or can be good. It depends on which you want to do. All right, if you want to take a chance and try and make this setup work and to wet vent this entire 3-piece bathroom, go for it. Just keep in mind with this kitchen sink, what is the maximum permitted length of the trap arm? Well, we know for an 1.5-inch pipe, it's roughly around 5 feet. So we want to keep that in mind, that if we do this, we may have to change the plumbing up so that way it actually works properly. Because remember, we don't want to have a running trap, and we also don't want to have, we don't want to have a running trap. We want to have proper trap layout. Okay? So, for this demonstration purpose, I'm going to put my stack in the middle. Okay? I think that's where I'm going to put it. If you want to take a chance and do it here, by all means go ahead and we'll take a look, see if it's all correct. And if it is, congratulations. Okay, but for now I'm going to put it in the middle. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to take our stack and we're going to draw it in. So since I want it in the middle, I'm going to draw it down like so. Remember to do this in pencil so you can erase if things are too long or too short. This is the start of my stack. I didn't draw it all the way up because I don't know where I have to erase or where I don't. At the bottom of every stack, we need a clean out. Of course, we need a clean out. I'm going to draw my clean out like so, and I'm going to label it clean out. This is a little too big for me, so clean out work like so. There you go. First step done. We have the base of our stack, with our clean out. So I know I'm going to connect this kitchen sink, so let's draw that in. Now this kitchen sink is a double kitchen sink, and if we remember during our fixture unit, we talked about the drain layout for a double kitchen sink. We come down, we have a 90. Let's zoom in a little bit more so this can look a little bit prettier. We come across, and then we connect into our TY, like so. And then I can draw the rest of the stack. See, is this the right size? Increase that a little bit. And there you go. This should look familiar. This is the setup that we showed in those videos and that we talked about. That is a drain layout for a double kitchen sink. We have our 90 that connects into the TY into a common trap. The videos talking about setting up this drain are available in the plumbing resources, a playlist. If you just go and take a look, those are in there, and they are all the videos I've posted referring to the drainage setup for a sink, as well as all the other things that we do in this class. So please use that as a resource. It is useful. So I'm going to bring over my pipe with a little bit of fall, and I'm going to connect it to my stack with a Y and a 45, like so. You could come in straight with a TY, like I was talking about in class yesterday, but again, depends on the teacher you get. For me, I don't really care if you use a TY or a Y, but for this instance, I'm going to use a Y. So this Y is shown to be directly above our clean out fitting, and that is proper. If I had this Y coming down and it lined up with our TY like this, that would be incorrect because you can't have a clean out double Y. They don't make that fitting, and we're not going to do that. So remember, when you're doing these, we want to make sure we use fittings and we draw in fittings that exist. Okay, so as you see here, the Y for the kitchen sink is stacked right on top of the clean out, and this drain setup is good. Now I know I need to add a vent, so when I add I'm going to do the venting later, but we know that since we're going to be individually venting this, we're going to back vent it off of this trap arm. Okay, now we have we continue up with our stack, we have our three-piece bathroom. Since I know for sure I'm going to be wet venting this lav here, I'm going to bring it all the way up to roughly where the trap arm is going to go. And since this is going to be connected into the vent, into the drain to act as a wet vent, we are just going to draw that in right away. We had a discussion in class yesterday talking about the setup for the top of a stack, the drainage layout, whether or not it is technically a wet vent or not. So when we were discussing in class, we were talking about if I should run a 2-inch pipe on our toilet. Let me just draw this out. So before we get into that discussion, let me just draw out my drainage. So here's a toilet that comes down, across, and we're going to connect into our drain, like so. Now the discussion in class we were talking about yesterday is whether the wet vent that we take off should be added here, or if this counts as a wet vent. Let's put that into perspective. So we were discussing whether or not this should be added as the wet vent, and then this be transferred into a regular vent. But as we figured out in class yesterday, because this is at the top of a stack, this is technically the wet vent because it is both a drain and it can be the vent for our toilet. So this stack, the top portion here, is our wet vented portion. So in order to avoid confusion, let's turn this green. That way we don't get confused on what is and what is not our wet vent. Try and cover that as best we can. And there you go. This is our wet vent portion here. Because see this? This lines up as being the vent for our toilet, right? Because that venting layout is good for our toilet. So it also counts as the drain for our sink. And there you go. And look at that. Conveniently, because of the location of the wet vent and the location of our shower, we can actually pick up this shower on our wet vent, like So let's change this red and we'll add a Y. And if you're noticing here, all these pipes I'm putting in has slope. Okay, not a crazy amount of slope, but they do have slope. So after all, in eventuality, we are able to wet vent all three of these together because it is at the top of the stack. Now, if there was another floor above here, we would have to individually vent this because again, this wouldn't be a wet vent. So the drain, if there was another floor above us, this drain layout would be different. It would be like in the first stack elevation where we have to wet vent everything together because it's not at the top of the stack. But for now, we will take advantage of it being at the top of the stack and transform this part into our wet vent. Okay. So now that we have this whole stack here is done. There's nothing above. We picked up all the fixtures. We correctly labeled our wet vent. Now let's do our venting. We have to do our vent stack and our individual vent for our kitchen sink. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to bring our vent up like so, and I'm going to leave it there for now. And I'm going to turn it into a vent because remember, a vent is a broken line. A vent is not a solid green line, that is a wet vent, and a drain is a solid red line. So a broken green line is our vent. Okay, there's our stack vent. Now we have to add our kitchen sink individual vent. Let's do that. So I said before we're going to bring up we're gonna back vent it. So let's bring up our vent. So with our vent, we are allowed to cross over these pipes, obviously, because we have to bring our vent up somehow. Just remember that you don't want the lines to overlap. So that's very easy to do. Let's watch how we do this. We're gonna bring up our back vent, and I think bringing it up here is pretty good. All we have to remember is to bring it above the flood level rim of our sink. Remember, because if it's below the flood level rim, if we put it here, that allows for bypassing because our connected vents need to be above the flood level rim of the highest fixture, which happens to be the lab and at this point. So let's bring our vent up across like so, and there we go. Now we will do our erasing to give us a broken line like so. Okay, we're going to do this, 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 and this. And then we're going to come across like so and add some erase mark. And there is our vent. Now we see here, I can either have the vent come across or the drain on top. I personally prefer to have the drain appear over the vent. So we're going to change this. We're just going to draw over it like so to make the drain appear above the vent like that. Okay, this whole stack is done. We have our kitchen sink with our common trap, with our back vent. We have the clean out. We have our toilet drain, which is being wet vented through the stack or modified stack venting. With our lab connected to it and our shower connected to it, and with our individual vent connected above the flood level rim of the sink, and then our stack vent continues straight up. Beautiful. Now we go over here to our next stack, and we're going to repeat the steps. We're going to bring our drain up and down like so. And again, I know this is a little bit too close, but I know that this stack is going to be somewhere at this point. We can always erase it and change it afterwards. I'm going to put it right in the middle, like that. Beautiful. Let's add in our clean out because we always need to have a clean out at the base of our stack, like so. And there we go. Awesome. Okay, first things first, we talked about venting all right. Well, these will be wet vented together. This will have to be individually vented because of the crossover of the stack. Okay. Now, we can't do the same layout as we have on the left side here because of the orientation of the sinks. So sadly, I don't believe we'll be able to wet vent using the stack portion. So it won't be a modified stack vent, but we will be able to wet vent. So let's continue with our laundry tub. Let's draw in our trap like so. And let's bring it across to our stack. This is fairly simple and easy. We know the drill. We know we're going to back vent this. So keep that in mind. What we can do, just to make sure we don't forget, let's add it right now. We'll just add it and we'll build onto it. Okay, we'll add it, build onto it, erase this a little bit. And now we can remember that we will have to vent this. So we will connect that at some point. So let's start with our toilet. Let's make that the lowest fixture. Like always, we will come across with our drain, turn this back to red, and bring it across. Like so. Perfect. Perfect. Now, since we know we're going to be wet venting it with these labs, let's do that. Because the orientation of this, we will have to run our separate wet vent, which is totally fine with us because it still saves money no matter what we do. We'll bring it across and place it right in the middle. Because when we have double vanities, we want our drain to be right in the middle of the two double vanities. Before we go any further, let's draw our trap. We'll come down like so, and we will come down like so. Come up with our drain, which is our wet vent, like so. Remember, we're allowed to use 90s on a horizontal to or a vertical to horizontal, or a horizontal to vertical shift. That's that code reference that we have there. And this is what our double vanity will look like. We'll bring across this drain together, like so, and there we go. That's our double Y. Now, I am okay with this. I will accept this. However, if you want to make it look a little bit prettier, you can kind of make this look like a double Y, like so. Okay, if you draw it like this, that's really good. You're preparing for college. I don't technically need it like that. I accept it the way I had it before, but if you draw it like that, you are preparing yourself for college. So try and remember to do it like this. If you don't, that is okay as well. So now our wet vent is complete. Beautiful. Now let's add our drain for our bathtub. So we have here our overflow. So we're going to bring a drain down from our overflow. We're going to add in our trap like so. And we're going to bring this over and connect the pin. Done. So because of this, do we need to back vent? By back vent, I mean like add a vent like this to our bathtub. No, no, we do not. Why is that? Because this portion of our stack right here is no longer a drain because there's no drains above. That means this portion of our stack has turned into a vent. Why is it turned into a vent? Because once it stops being a drain, it becomes a vent. Once it no longer carries water, it now just carries air. And there you go. Let's make sure that we know it's a vent by adding in dashed lines. And there you go. So there is no need to back vent this bathtub because it's the highest fixture connected to the stack and it turns into a vent right there. So this technically is being stack vented off of the stack. What we have to do though is connect the vent for our wet vented toilet and two labs because we can't just have an empty double Y without any connection. We bring our vent above the flood level rim of our toilets, or sorry, our labs. Make sure we indicate that it is a vent by breaking up the line, and we're going to bring it across like so. And the stack vent and the wet vent are going to intercept like this. Erase them so that way they look like vents. And there you go. We now have both stacks complete. But we don't want to have two penetrations through the roof because more roof penetrations leaves more possible places for the roof to leak. Now, before we go any further, I apologize. I forgot to bring the laundry tub up, and that is going to be super easy. Let's bring a line up like so and just connect straight up into this header. Sorry, not header, branch vent. Connect and create this into a branch vent. Across. And there you go. Well, there's no need to connect this individual vent into the stack. You can if you want, but it's just neater and nicer to just connect it into this continuous vent and create a branch vent at this point and then connect into the stack. So since we crossed over with our drain, let's make this red again. And there you go. So now that we have our two stacks done, instead of penetrating the roof twice, let's just penetrate it once. Let's go in one. But this means we have to make a choice right now. We need to pick which stack is going to be our main stack. Because each house needs one main stack. And with that code reference that we were discussing yesterday, that means that this one stack is going to be 3 inches minimum from the bottom floor all the way to the penetration in the roof. So this is quite a big deal about which stack we're going to pick. We can pick this stack or we can pick this stack. It is entirely up to you. You can pick this stack, that would be the correct answer. You could pick this stack, that would be the correct answer. So whichever one you want, because there's nothing really stipulating which one has to be the main one. So I'm going to pick the left side to be our main stack. And so that means I'm going to continue this up all the way through to open air like so. Turn that green and erase it to make it look like a vent. There you go. Terminating to open air, at least 3 inch. So let's connect our other stack vent and create our header, because there's no reason to have another penetration that just causes leak. So we're going to bring our stack vent all the way across to create a header. Remember, a header is where two stack vents meet, and then proceed to open air. Now these dashes are a little bit far apart, so let's break them up again, like so. And there we go. We now have our two stack vents connected to create a header. We have our venting done, and everything above ground is complete. The last thing we have to do is add our main drain. Now, because we have two drains here, let's erase this. And let's add our main drain. So we're going to bring it across with slope down like so. Make that red. And I'm going to, oh, whoa, that looked weird. And I'm going to do this. And I'm going to bring it all the way across to here. Now there's something wrong here. We can't make this connection here. We have to add a Y connection. So let's erase this and add our Y like so. Because remember, we cannot use a TY in underground drainage pipe like that. So there's our Y connection, and here is our main drain. One last fixture we have to connect is our floor drain. We did not forget about that, our emergency floor drain. Whoop, that's a bad looking trap. There we go. Come across with our drain, and connect down with a Y like so. And there you have it. We have our complete stack elevation with all of the components that we talked about. We have our double kitchen sink, our floor drain, laundry tub. Both the kitchen sink and laundry tub are individually vented. We have a modified stack vent or a wet vent here, picking up this entire three-piece bathroom. We have a wet vent and a individual vent for our bathtub. We also have our header. We have our branch vent here connecting the individual vent to the wet vent, and we have all of our vent pipe done. Now, when you do this in class, with all those tables that we discussed and you had on the board yesterday, please, I would really like you to size everything. Size the vents, size the stacks, size the wet vents, size the drains, and all that jazz. Okay? I look forward to seeing all these when I come on Thursday. Thank you guys very much, and take care.